this is a receive and file per the budget instructions, but it just sounded like a nice opportunity to find out what they're doing in the treasurer's office to help keep people in their homes. So thank you for taking the time to be here, and if you could just kind of give us the skinny on it, I would appreciate it.
Yes. Again, thank you for having us here. Always enjoy sharing what we're doing over at the Treasurer's Office. I noticed what is on the addenda really refers to the accelerated foreclosure process. And I think last time I was here, I addressed it. That's more of a municipality right. That doesn't have anything to do with the county. Although we make sure that whatever properties are given to the cities, that those are certified that they're abandoned and there are no seniors in them. So that's a good thing.
Yes.
But in terms of what we're doing at the Treasurer's Office, boy, it's and I think my report was a bit long, but we're doing a whole lot with with and for seniors. We have we've been doing a lot of lobbying in Lansing over time. Recently, with the Pay As You Stay project that the mayor, the county executive, and the treasurer are on board with. So we're pushing the Pay As You Stay legislation.
Wonderful.
And that hopefully will help lower income taxpayers to reduce their what they do owe us significantly down to 10% of the state equalized value.
Wonderful.
So that's good. Earlier this year we helped to continue with the IRSPA, the interest reduction stipulated payment agreements that were about to expire in June. So we helped pass legislation to extend those for another, I think it's 8 years. So that's definitely a good thing, keeping folks in their homes, giving them an extra 5 years to be able to pay off what they owe, to find a way to stay current with their taxes as well. We have upcoming our show cause hearings. Those are happening in January every year with 2 weeks, where technically it's a legal process. People are supposed to come and show cause as to why they haven't paid their taxes. We have turned these into resource fairs. We bring 25 to 30 partners, Detroit Water and Sewage, Assessor's Office, UCHC, Legal Aid, DTE, you name it. We bring everybody to the table. And so if somebody has a problem with something, we say, okay, talk to them, and then come on back to us. And we try to resolve as many issues as we can and mostly get people into payment plans. So that's a wonderful time. It's thousands of people, maybe 6,000 to 8,000 people come through our offices at that time, but we have a good system for handling
That's everything. A great approach. I love that holistic approach, because a lot of times it's, they may have a water bill, they might have different agencies that they would have to deal with, and you put them all in one place so they can get all their issues resolved at one time. That's wonderful. I don't think I had heard about that.
So we try to take something that's difficult and we turn it into a positive, so it's more of a resource fair kind of now. So that's one thing. There's a project tax message. You've seen the billboards all over that, something I worked up with the treasurer's support, of course, with a couple of interns from MSU that we had, and came up, we brainstormed and they came up with this idea. Now, just like Verizon texts you or others will text you reminders that you have your payment due this month, we do the same thing, and we found that's helped significantly.
Great.
Again, there are countless efforts, and we have this new Wayne County Citizens Academy that we're starting up. So we've asked for folks from the various municipalities to give us a person or two so that we can better educate them as to what we do at the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, and they can be kind of ambassadors. So when somebody comes into a different city or municipality and they have questions about the county taxes or what to do, they feel stuck, there's somebody there who can talk to them or at least connect them to us, to the right person. So there's that program. Taxpayer Saturdays we do every year at the Wayne County Community College District, where we go to folks' backyards and through using the Wayne County Community College District campuses. And so we see them on Saturdays. So, it's a time where they're not working, where, we're, again, close to them and we can help them get into payment plans or whatever, answer whatever questions. And again, we bring other partners to the table, like the assessor's office and these kind of folks to help, answer any questions that people have. We have an upcoming, there are countless things we're doing, so I'm not going to go through everything. But what's coming up is the Veterans Resource Fair in Dearborn Heights at the Bellagio.
Yeah.
And if I can pass these.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the old Steffen's Banquet Hall that was recently remodeled. Not going to go into all of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, right? You don't think of Vegas. You think of Dearborn Heights. I know you do.
I went there the other day for State Rep Abdullah Hamoud's wedding, first time there. A wonderful facility, but I felt like I was going somewhere else.
Very nice.
And something I didn't mention in the report, because the report was fairly long, lengthy about what we do at the office. But the one thing I failed to note was the kiosk program. So the kiosks, these where people can pay their bills remotely, again at the local store near their home. So these kiosks have made a significant difference helping seniors.
Yes.
We have this year compared to last year an 11% increase in usage, which is good, and that pulls in close to $33 million. It's about 13% of what we pull in through these kiosks. So again, this is a good program.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
And one other thing I should mention, the new Financial Empowerment Center. You've heard of it. We had a grand opening. It's this Financial Empowerment Center is located inside the Wayne County Treasurer's Office on the 5th floor. One of the two current offices that are open. The other one that's open is over at Wayne Metro at their main site on Lakeshore. But this is a wonderful program that can help county residents with wraparound services. It's not just a one-time meet the person, see what their situation is, give them some advice, and it's over. No, they offer complete wraparound services. If they find a person, just needs to find a job, needs mental health services, needs this, they advise people open up bank accounts. They really help people gain stability financially as they move forward, and they look at all aspects of that person, and they have continual meetings with that person. This is a hugely beneficial program, and if I can, I'd like to share. There's frequently asked questions, but you can pass these on to folks that you come in contact with as well. And unless you want, I won't pass these around, but we've translated the information about the Financial Empowerment Center and the frequently asked questions into 3 other languages. So we have it in Bengali, Arabic, and Spanish. So if you have constituents, who can use, I have these here as well. I don't want to overburden you with too many forms, or flyers.
Oh, these are wonderful to have.
Yes.
No, we love these, and some of us have big populations of citizens that speak different languages, so
Yep.
yeah, that would be helpful.
So I'll send these around as well then. Take what you need.
Thank you. You certainly came prepared, and we appreciate that. That'd be helpful for you too.
So
Yeah.
So I hope I haven't said or taken up too much time here. There's a lot that we do. There's Beverlyn Hilton, our community outreach director, couldn't be here with me. Mm-hmm. She was here last time when we addressed you guys, and she works. She works on all sorts of programming with seniors and specific and programs and events that where seniors are present. The Detroit Area Agency on Aging, she's the chair of that this year. And what we do with them is with the Meals on Wheels program, when they deliver the meals to our elderly citizens, we include materials, helpful information for them with the food, so they can sit down and kind of review that, at their convenience, of course. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. We do a whole lot. Do you have any questions for me?
Actually, I have a couple of commissioners that do have questions. I have Commissioner Basham and Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first thing, I didn't even see the addenda. It wasn't in my packet. And then I get a one-paragraph addenda.
It was in your mailbox.
Yeah, it was here.
Okay, I didn't see it. And I get a one-paragraph. So I just got through chairing a meeting on audit dealing with best intentions of keeping people in their homes. And without seeing all the specific language and drilling down on it, I'm going to abstain until I get the full board, because I don't know enough about this to actually support it. It sounds good. Everything sounds wonderful. But the devil's always in the details, and words are important, and this don't give me enough to support something or oppose it. So what I'm saying is I just need more information, so I'll abstain on this item.
Okay, that's fine. This report is part of the budget instructions, and so this is a receive and file, and I just asked representation to be here from the treasurer's office so that to give you the opportunity to expound upon these programs, because we get calls and questions from people in our districts that the things you're doing can help. So I just thought it was a good opportunity, and I really appreciate you coming and bringing all this information with you, because we can get it out to our seniors in need and offer them some options. So
Absolutely, and Commissioner Basham, if I may, this talks about the accelerated collection process for delinquent property taxes, and I can elaborate more. All the details are in the report that we submitted regarding this. Even though this is not something that applies to the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, this is a right given to municipalities. They can do this accelerated foreclosure process. We cannot. We're not involved in that. But I can talk more about it if you wish.
Commissioner Basham, you still have the floor. So
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, and so rather than top the committee time, I'm not going to oppose it. I'm not going to support it. I'm just going to abstain until I get my information.
no, it's a receive and file per the budget instructions. Did all the members get the report?
We still do a vote, receive and file.
As part of the regular packet?
That's part of the addenda packet, yes.
Oh, part of the addenda packet. Okay.
Yeah, I have it. I have it too.
Okay. All right. Okay. Commissioner Killeen, did you have questions?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the report.
Absolutely.
And believe you me, I appreciate the constraints that you're under from Lansing to do these things. I actually have a comment, Madam Chair. I see that this accelerated process really doesn't affect seniors because these are all properties with nobody living in them. And they verify that, so the budget instruction report on measures taken to assure senior citizens do not leave their home under the accelerated. I think that's a moot question, because that's what I'm suggesting, though, Madam Chair, is there's no numbers in here. And I think when we draft the budget instructions for the next time, it doesn't say here, were there seniors that lost their home?
Right.
And so I want to be a little more specific on that. And I think I would argue that also in the budget instructions, with the payment plans that are out there, how many people are defaulting on the payment plans, and then what happens there? And so I think I'd like to understand that flow a little bit better, and what that actually is bringing in, or what happens to folks that sign up on a payment plan and they're non-compliant or whatever 9 months later, because I know that issue has been raised. I don't know how shallow or how deep that goes, but that issue has been raised, and I think it'd be interesting to see, again, given your constraints from Lansing, in what you can offer people and what you can do. But since we are doing all these programs, word the budget instructions in some way to see what the actual effect is for doing these. So I'll leave that for now, but because it is a receive and file item. But personally, I'd like to tighten up the language in the budget instruction a little bit.
And our finance director is nodding as you're speaking.
Oh, he is.
That's doable.
Yeah, through the chair, we'll definitely add defaults on payment plans. I think that's probably something worthwhile to know to determine the success of the program. I'll have to look further into seniors losing their homes because I'm not sure that the treasurer is at this point aware of.
We can ask and find out in the budget instructions and what they can and they cannot do on that. But with all of these things too, I mean, like it or not, we're also voices out there, and the more commissioners know and understand, the better communication, because you get calls, we get calls. The answers should somewhat line up with each other.
Be on the same page.
That provides a lack of confidence in government when people are getting, even if it's slightly different answers. So to understand exactly that a little bit better and what's going on out there, I think we'll be able to better talk to our citizens about what they can do, what they can expect, that sort of thing, by going and doing this.
If I may add, so, when people apply for payment plans and when they come to our office, we don't ask age. So we have no way really of
sure.
knowing. But when we identify a senior, you can tell if somebody's struggling. We do attempt to do all things possible to help them. We direct people to go to the City of Detroit, the Board of Review office, and get the PTE forms, and if they're lower income, so that they can hopefully even get out of paying 100% or 50% of their property taxes if they qualify based on their income. So we are heavily supportive of that. That's like one of our primary drivers. We work closely with the city. Currently, our community outreach director, Beverlyn Hilton, is working with Willie Donwell in the Board of Review. He is compiling a list of those who are 65 and older who have applied for PTE, for the PTE program, to get the exemptions, and also for help in paying their, or actually getting an exemption from paying their trash collection fees for the year. And those folks that he identifies, he's going to submit that list to us, and so that's an active list that we can look at and see if these folks are struggling paying their property taxes as well. And so we would reach out to them as well. So that's another effort that we're working on with seniors. So
Well, and since it's receive and file, I don't want to go too far down that road today. But both of the things we have before us both mention seniors. Maybe before we write a new budget instructions, we can say what can we really know and what can't we know as a result. But I'll move to receive and file, Madam Chair, this item.
Thank you. I have a support. Thank you. Item's been moved and supported. Thank you so much. Just before I take the vote on this, I'm going to just ask you one thing. You have a lot of really great news stories, and I think they would be helpful to you and to us for us to be more aware of them. So I don't know if it would be possible for you just to send us kind of a cheat sheet on what these different programs are and maybe who people could contact, and then when our staff takes these calls, we would know how to direct them to you, and we could help you get the word out, because these are great things you're doing,
absolutely.
and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Who can I direct that to if I put it together to yourself?
Just send it to me and we'll
Joe Slezak, just send it to
Wonderful.
Joe, and he'll get it out to the commissioners, and
Very
all
good.
the commissioners would benefit from this, actually.
Very
So,
good.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely, and please recommend folks, seniors. A lot of we have our Veterans Resource Fair event coming up on the 21st. The first document I passed out or flyer. A lot of veterans are seniors, of course, and
True.
just please help us spread the word for the 21st.
Definitely will do that. Thank you so much. I believe you're holding that on a day that we have full board. or we're in committee or something. I know that I'm going to be hustling from down here to there to get there myself. It's a full board day. Yeah, so I might just put a little request in when, we would love to attend this as long as you schedule them when we're not in session.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Again,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for having us.
Thank you so much for all the great work you do. I have a motion on the floor to receive and file and a support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. Okay, then we're going to go back to the beginning of the agenda. That's good stuff.
Item D1, requesting commission approval of a one-year comparable source contract with the one-year option to renew with HOK to perform a design services study for a court complex.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon, James. Thanks for being here. So, I can't wait to hear about this.
So
Do tell.
you will recall, I believe, over the summer when we had discussions regarding the central utility plant for the CJC, and I believe it was Commissioner Webb in response to a question that you raised about Lincoln Hall, and we indicated at that time that sometime in the late fall, early winter, that we would be presenting a contract before your body to do a feasibility study for what may be end up being phase 2 for the civil side of the courthouse project. And so today we are making good on that promise that we made. And we are presenting a contract for Helmuth, Abada, and Kasabam, we affectionately term HOK, to get started with that study. It's a $220,000 contract that will allow us to gather the information and determine whether it makes sense and how it should be done for the county to build new civil courthouse facilities, hopefully in an area near the CJC project. And so that is what is before you today. We think it's important to do it at this time, frankly, and we think it makes sense for HOK to be the ones to lead this. As you know from your probably 2 years of conversations about the criminal side of the project, the planning for an undertaking like this takes a huge amount of interfacing with our end users, in determining what are the existing facilities that you have now, what are your needs that might not be readily obvious to those of us who are not working on the details of the day-to-day work of the courts. HOK, and specifically Jeff Goodell, who is their representative, has already been engaged in that process with the court, and he meets with Judge Kinney and his staff on a regular basis, and so we think he's uniquely positioned at this point to kind of lead that process of determining the civil side of things in the most timely and economic fashion as possible.
So I would take it that's why this is a comparable source contract.
That is correct.
Your reasons make sense to me. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but it makes sense to me. Does anybody have any questions on this item? Yes, Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so just the basics here. Criminal Justice Complex, I guess, is the CJC.
That's correct.
And so it was only going to be in that project, it was only going to be criminal courts.
Correct.
Because once that opens, we got to get the heck out of Frank Murphy.
Absolutely.
Are there any civil courts in Frank Murphy?
No.
Okay. So we're going to study this, but we don't have a location.
There's nothing that's set in stone. So two of the sites that they will be examining, one is in the area near where the existing Lincoln Hall is. There's a large parking area that might be able to be of use, and that's frankly one of the things that we want to take a look at. There's also several areas around the CJC, which is being built right now. One of them, one site that we're specifically taking a close look at is land owned by the city of Detroit right now, a DDOT area there where
don't
they have
have
a
a-
large garage.
all
So, yeah, so we don't have anything set in stone at this point.
But the Lincoln Hall is not involved in this.
It is. That's part of the study.
Oh,
It says civil court.
Yeah, it's part of the study.
well, I don't usually include, well,
Well,
I'm not an attorney, but
No, it
juvenile
includes-
and civil seem like two different things to me. But we're going to look at Lincoln Hall of Justice as well for upgrades. and-
We're looking at the parking lot area there for it, and we.
Oh, so this building would include juvenile and civil court?
That's correct. Well, the study, we don't know if it's going to be one single building or not.
Right.
That's
But
yet to
we
be
are
determined. But juvenile court and our civil
caught up in
probate
this.
is going to be involved in this. That's
Yeah,
correct.
because Lincoln, we don't have to, I mean, they brought the chillers in over the summer, and it was colder in there than it is outside today, and some of the areas from the people I talked to, and then on the other hand, you could have Abu Dhabi heat going on in that building as well, so that is long overdue. So this is on our own. Is part of the study going to look at just keeping the courts where they are, because we got them in what, are all the civil in,
You've got
KMAC?
KMAC, you've got our probate courts are in KMAC, family and civil are in KMAC.
Yeah.
We've got Penobscot areas, front of the court.
Right.
We've got the juvenile court over at Lincoln Hall, and so part of our review would be, whether it makes sense to consolidate
That's gonna
all
be
or
part of
some
this,
of those
too.
things. That's right. And so
okay,
we're going to get
that's
several
what I was
options.
looking at, rather than just saying this is where we're going. The study's going to look at the alternatives, and this looks like the best way to do it.
That's correct.
Okay. That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, Commission Counsel had some questions on, I saw some of the things about change orders, and that was a result of negotiations between Commission Counsel and Corporation Counsel in some of the legal language here. So I just wanted to know if Commission Counsel, like conflicting language has been deleted. I don't know if Council is prepared for this today, but I'd like Commission Counsel to make overall statements about how comfortable Commission Counsel is with this document now that there's been all these legal questions. I don't know if Council is prepared to do that.
Through the chair, after having spoken with Corporation Counsel, we have reached an agreement and understanding with the language with regards to the change orders, and Commission Counsel is satisfied with the language that is currently now in the agreement.
That's what I needed. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. Commissioner Basham.
It's just hard for me to get comfortable with comparable source contracts, so you know where I'm going to be. Thank you.
Okay, and well, I appreciate you coming today, James. The Lincoln Hall of Justice is an embarrassment, frankly. It's in shambles. It's something I think that was probably in worse shape than Frank Murphy. So I wish it would have been, I know they wanted to separate things into criminal courts and civil courts, and I'm one of those pragmatic people that thinks we need to put the money only where we really need it, and I think we really needed it to replace the Lincoln Hall. I don't think we even, well, just my opinion, I don't even think we need to replace the JDF because we're not even mandated to have one, and we should have replaced the Lincoln Hall. So I am glad to see that you are looking at the civil side. I think it's prudent to hire a consultant to find out what those costs are going to look like. Be honest, I'm scared to death for the taxpayer if we go after another entire project of replacing civil courts while we're looking at probably 35 to 40 million a year on the taxpayer with the CJC. But we have to know. It's falling apart, and we have to know. So I'm going to support. I'm not usually good with comparable source contracts either, but I do understand the extenuating circumstances around this one. So I'm okay with it. I'll entertain a motion.
Support.
Item's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Please record Commissioner Basham as a nay. Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2.
Item 2, requesting commission approval of a cooperative agreement with CDW government for a one-time purchase of new Juniper firewalls through the Sourcewell contract.
And I see that we have representation from the Department of Technology. Hi, thank you all for coming today. So you want to give us the executive summary on the firewalls, specifically what program, in what capacity are we going to be using these firewalls, or is it for our entire network, or?
Sure. Hector Roman, Department of Information Technology. Yes, the firewalls are used to protect the county's network from both outside people trying to come in, and then also monitors the traffic of internal county employees going out to the internet.
Very good. On our entire network?
Correct, yes.
Existing or new?
This is replacing our aged firewalls.
Okay, so it's something that we need to do on what we have existing in our network, but we're in the process of investing $30 million in a new network. And is this something that that is limited to what we're doing now, or something that would carry forward into what we're doing?
No, absolutely not. This actually brings new technology, so it's going to assist us with the network upgrades that we've been doing and are continuing to do.
Very good. Okay, makes sense to me. Any questions on this item? Commissioner Colleen?
We have any idea how many breaches we have? We got an aging firewall system. I can't imagine that there's not a few fingers in the dike somewhere that we have to.
So Carlos,
Otherwise, if nobody's getting in, why are we replacing the system? Because it's wonderful, perfect, and the best firewall ever. So do we have an idea of breaches?
well, hold on. Carlos Perez, Chief
Yeah.
Information Officer. I understand your point. I can keep this pretty light, and no one's coming in through the firewall. Okay, that's not what happens here.
Yeah.
The firewall is kind of like, if you think of it as like the Great Wall of China, no one was going to go through the wall. They were going to find a weakness around
Other
the
ways
wall,
around it.
right? So this is that obvious mode of defense, right? Hector said it really well, but one thing that is a major difference with this is that it enables us to work with newer technologies like the cloud. And older technologies were built, like the old firewalls we had were built before the cloud, and they weren't designed for that. And there are unique challenges that we couldn't take advantage of because we didn't have a tool like this.
Well, I'm not going to get into it too deep, but people have found a way around the firewall.
You can find your way around anything, absolutely. That's why there's layers of
And
security.
so, how much additional security will this bring that the old firewall didn't? Are we going to be able to stop more incursions as a result of this and the newer technology and the cloud and all that kind of stuff?
So the answer is yes, and I want to keep it honest because it's a very big question. The answer is we'll be able to see more about the kind of traffic going on our network, right? We'll understand if it's suspicious activity or risky behavior. We will have a lot more control and insight, right? And a lot more functionality to controlling the kind of communications that happen. So that's a really big deal in our world.
Yeah, and for governments, public, this is a growth business for getting into government systems and protecting them. And I'm trying to think offhand. I guess we don't have the Downward River wastewater treatment plant anymore. But boy, could you have fun if you hacked into that and have all sorts of bad things happen. So I don't know what else we have in the county comes to my mind immediately, but with the ever-increasing people sitting in their basements and seeing what they can do, so this will, and I think you answered it, this will be able to stop a lot more incursions.
Yeah, this is.
And is this considered state-of-the-art for firewalls these days?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
But it's a major tool in our tool belt.
Yeah, no, I understand nothing's perfect, you know. Every time you come up with something, somebody finds a way around it. But anyway, all right, thanks, Madam Chair.
Can I get a motion? Thank you. Item's been moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes. Thank you, Carlos. Next item?
Item 3, requesting commission approval of a retroactive 2-year comparable source agreement with a 2-year option to renew with Actron Integrated Security Systems to provide support, maintenance, and warranty of the security access control and camera systems.
Okay, so is the reason that this is comparable sources because we already have Actron's networks in here?
Tori Woods, contract manager for DeWitt. Well, it's a comparable source because currently they are the only vendor that currently supports the various cameras and the security system in place.
Were they the ones?
Technology.
Were they the ones that installed the cameras and the systems in place?
Yes.
Okay, so if we're already doing business with them, I can understand why it's a comparable source if we already have their equipment. What I don't understand then is why it's retroactive.
Well, unfortunately, it's retroactive because in due course of getting this through the system approval process, while it was submitted beforehand, just the time it takes to navigate that part, it didn't get here for the actual approval until after the start date.
So what was the holdup in the approval process? Do you know?
Well, I imagine it could have been submitted earlier on my part, for approval, but I think in terms of the actual delay and getting it approved, just the various changes that were necessary or the various departments requested to the supporting documents for the contract. So going back and forth with that and having to expedite it back to the next approval chain, I do see that it didn't actually get to the point to get added to the agenda until 10/25. So
Yeah, we've
that
only
would
had
have-
it for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But you started it in the system back in July. So it sounds like you started it, and I just want you to know, I certainly don't go through these questions to bust anybody's chops. I do this so that we learn and that we get ahead of them next time. Because when you got a retroactive contract, obviously you're doing business with somebody on a contract we haven't approved yet. It's just not a good way to do business, yeah.
100%, and I wanted to give Tori a chance to speak. So we've mentioned this before, this body before, is that we had we didn't have enough people working on contracts, and that was a big part of it. And Tori's been a big help in getting contracts through. But there is a learning process. There is some challenges. I believe with this contract there might have been challenges, but here's one obvious one, which was there was a dispute as to whether this should be coming out of us or out of buildings. And those are form issues, right? So they did add some delay, and there was some learning curve to it.
What did we come up with for an answer for that? Should it come out of IT or building?
Clearly out of IT. It had to come out of IT once before, and it'll come out now. Maybe more than I need to say in this context is we are at some point going to go to an RFP and find out if we have the right and best systems across the board for the county. It's just not the highest priority right now to centralize it. There's a lot of other projects going on that are more important.
I understand. Okay. I just, like I say, I always like to look at what goes wrong in the process so that we can fix it, going forward.
100%.
If we ignore them, then we continue to make the same mistakes repeatedly, and, that's not good. We don't get any further ahead by doing that. Okay, so I have, do I have any other questions on this item? Yes, Commissioner Kleen?
There's no hardware involved here, right? This is all monitoring? Existing?
It's supporting existing equipment, so existing cameras, existing card swipes, card readers.
Okay, because it talks about, what's the terminology? Security access control and camera system, so that would be like scanning your card.
In the elevators
In
and
the elevator,
doors and
on the
corridors.
floor.
Exactly.
Or some system where there's a remote camera and you can see who's outside, whether you want to buzz them in or not, that kind of a deal?
Yes.
Do they do the monitoring then? Who's watching those?
The security guard, the building management company, downstairs, they have the screens, they watch those. And if there's any incidents on the floor.
Okay, so these are just to do the maintenance on the existing
Yes.
hardware that's out there, nothing else?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good. with that, can I get a motion? Thank you. You're welcome. Item's been moved. Can I get a support? Item's been moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Please note the record that Commissioner Basham is a nay vote. Item passes. Next item?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4, requesting commission approval of a retroactive 2-year contract with the Mike Cox Law Firm to provide legal services in Act 312 arbitration matters.
Gosh, I can't believe this is still going on. This has been going on for 4 years, I think. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Right on. Great old jam, too. No, this is, we're on number 4. Okay, so, got a couple of, so, and then what's even more perplexing is why we would have a retroactive contract on something that's been going on for a long time. So, the floor's all yours. Please introduce yourself for the record, and then you can explain to us what's going on.
Joe Marnico, I'm the Labor Relations Director.
Thank you.
Although this seems to have been going on for a long time, the actual Act 312 arbitration proceeding began in July of this year. And the contract was for a period beginning October of 2018. As it turns out, both parties, the union and the county, proposed a 3-year contract which would expire September 30, 2021. So that was the contract period that was at issue in the Act 312.
So if it
Maybe I
was,
should back up a little bit.
yeah, because that's kind of confusing, because then it wouldn't seem like you would need to be here if you were covered through 2021.
No, there is no contract yet. The
I see.
There has been a hearing, as you probably know. Police employees are entitled to, when a contract negotiation does not resolve all matters, the matters that remain in dispute can be submitted to an arbitrator for resolution through Act 312. That is what occurred here. That Act 312 arbitration proceeding was replacing the county employment terms that had been in effect from 2015 through the new, whenever the new contract would begin. So
Okay, that's why I was thinking it was old, because I remember this is ASME 3317,
this is
correct?
ASME 3317, yes.
And I remember that they were the only union that was imposed upon during the consent agreement.
That's correct.
So that's why I'm thinking this is an old issue.
Right.
Okay, go ahead,
But
continue, sir.
those county employment terms remained in effect until a new contract was negotiated.
In 18.
Those negotiations commenced October 1st of 2018, when the county's obligation to bargain with this union came back into effect.
Okay.
So the parties began negotiating in October 1, 2018. For a variety of reasons, some matters got resolved, some didn't. And the matters that remained unresolved got submitted to arbitration. That arbitration proceeding began in July of this year. So July of 2019 is when those proceedings began.
So it's just a
We had
process.
approximately 13 days of hearing before an arbitrator. That proceeding, briefs were submitted September 12th in that proceeding, and we're still awaiting the decision of the arbitrator. We have not received the final ruling of the arbitrator in that matter as of yet, but I expect that we'll be receiving it shortly, any day now.
Is it your feeling that both sides have come to a point where they're comfortable with each other on the issues, or is it completely? I mean, have you guys gotten any closer?
That's a good question. We resolved a great many issues through consensual agreement.
Wonderful.
The provisions that remained unresolved were wages, retirement, insurance, retiree insurance, ones that have significant
Big hitters.
liability.
Sure.
So that sort of explains why we retained outside counsel to represent us in this matter. There were issues of significant financial liability, and we knew that this was a matter that required bringing in someone with some expertise. Mr. Cox had represented the county in a couple of related unfair labor practice cases that had been brought by Local 3317. He was very familiar with the imposition, the reasons for the imposition, the circumstances that led up to this Act 312 proceeding, and some of the issues that were raised in the Act 312 proceeding. So we reached out to him to represent us in this matter.
Because why pay a different lawyer all that money to catch up?
And have them have to catch up, exactly.
I understand. Okay, questions?
Yeah, just
Commissioner
in
Bash.
reading my background here, it says a resolution's been proposed that recognizes that this contract is in violation of ordinance number 2006-1101 as amended in section 5.143 of the Home Rule Charter for the County of Wayne.
I'm not sure where you're reading from, sir.
Go ahead, Joe.
Through the chair, that's language we put in for retroactive contracts, because obviously the services have been provided, since July.
So, yeah, is there a reason why this didn't come before committee sooner? I mean, it's difficult with lawsuits. I mean, we get it. I mean, we get a lot of them when it comes to legal contracts that are delayed, but we usually ask what the delay was, just so that we can prevent them in the future, if it's possible. Do we know why this didn't come to us? This is an internal
Deputy Corp
issue.
Counsel can probably handle this one.
Well, I don't have the answer as to why it took so long. It looks like the communication was dated July, so that usually means that's when it was submitted. I have no idea why it took this long, but I just wanted to raise, if this is not an extension of an existing agreement, this is a new agreement. There is an exception in our procurement ordinance, and I don't have the site off the top of my head, but there's an exception for new litigated cases where we are allowed to have outside legal service contracts or consultants start working immediately, and it's an exception to the retroactive. So I'm not sure if that applies. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, there's an amount limit, though. Yeah. Joe.
With an amount limit on it, if I may, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I think our interpretation is that it applies basically for lawsuits, not for essentially like this arbitration hearings, because this isn't like a lawsuit type contract. This is a separate thing, like an arbitration type hearing.
And it's the 35,000, I think, is the limit on what can be spent before.
If it's over 30, right, I think you're up to 35,000 or
Yeah, up to
something like that.
35,000.
So, perhaps the contract 75, I don't know how much has been spent on it, if it's brand new, and I would frankly discuss that, in labor, it's always arbitration, and arbitration is the counterpart to litigation. These issues don't go to litigation, so there should probably be something that takes into account when we need someone to start acting quickly in an arbitration matter. If the ordinance doesn't address it, then it doesn't address it, but it's very similar in nature.
Well, that's why we have different processes that are at your disposal for things like that, like immediate consideration and that type of thing that would help you in those situations, because no one has a crystal ball. But anyway.
Also, through the chair, obviously the services started in July. This was the first SyQuest signature, which is basically the starting of the process in TCM SyQuest to get it to us, was August 29th.
Yeah, so it's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
If
yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Joe, would you like to go? Then I'll
If
call
I
on
may.
Commissioner. Yeah.
There was a timing issue involved here. The Act 312 was delayed for a period of undefined period of time by virtue of the union's appeal of a Merck decision, and it was uncertain when the hearing would be held. We anticipated that the hearing might not begin until well after July. If this matter had actually gone to the Court of Appeals, it would have taken the original litigation by the appeal of the Merck decision by the union. It could have taken months and months longer to resolve than it actually did. The union ended up withdrawing, without any notice to us, withdrawing their appeal, which started the Act 312 clock precipitously for us. Not that we weren't planning on, and we weren't prepared. We were prepared to move forward, but bringing Mr. Cox in ended up, it was much sooner than we had thought was going to be the case.
I see. Okay. That's the thing with lawsuits, there's so many uncontrollable variables, and, our procurement ordinance does offer some flexibility for lawsuits because of those kinds of things. We just try to limit the retroactivity as much as we can. Commissioner Colleen, did you have a question?
Now we're back on the horse, or stepping forward. I noted the same dates that Commission Staff Joe noted here, too. And then this thing came up about 35,000 and all of that stuff, but we don't have that in front of us. That needs to be part of the paperwork. That needs to be part of this is what we're doing because here's the provision and this is why. So that's difficult to arbitrate. But also I can't imagine that the administration and Corporation Counsel didn't know that this is something that, hey, if they go to arbitration, we're going to need outside counsel for this. I don't think that was something that happened after. Right. So we have to resolve this a little bit somehow because we've had somebody working on this for a few months now, like 4 or 5. No contract for that. So I want to work cooperatively, but it comes up too much on this hiring, and we've been trying to get a handle on that. Now we're going to hear any minute now from the arbitrator, right? Now, that's binding arbitration, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
There is no further legal action after that shows up.
That's correct.
Nobody can go to a court of appeals or right to the Supreme Court or anything like that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're kind of at the end of that. But, the fact that whatever that 35,000 thing wasn't referenced anywhere in our paperwork, right? If that is the mechanism and we have it in our, I'm sorry? The 35,000? Where did I miss that? I missed stuff.
Page 3 in my analysis.
3 of 5? Oh, in between the 2 boxes. What's the, Commission Counsel, what's the parameters around, as expressly retained by the Commission for Legal Services? That's just the omnibus 35,000? That, I thought it was 50, but no, it's 35, right? So, okay, now I know what that is. We ought to just do 35,000 contracts and come back and amend them as soon as we can. And I know we've talked about this before, right? That we bring people on. And again, I can't imagine that you didn't, that this went to 312 and then was like, oh, we're going to need outside counsel. Hopefully, folks looked at it and said, if this goes to arbitration, so we better shoot a contract down to the commission for 35,000 so we're ready to go. And then we can help Mr. Cox's cash flow as it goes through his business. Maybe he needs that help, maybe he doesn't. But So I'm raising an objection to that. I'm not going to stand in front of this today, but we have to have this a much smoother process, and I don't know at which point I'm just going to get ornery and say, no, you guys knew it was coming, come on. So I'm making a pitch for that once again, that as soon as we have a whiff that we might need counsel, that we, sorry? Uh-oh, because I was done there. Something new? Ooh, what's in it?
Actually, this applies to a mod. This applies to a mod. This isn't a mod. This is a fresh contract. So, yeah, this isn't.
But you talked about the litigation.
Oh,
Okay. Yep.
we got the good book out.
Me too. Where basically, if it arrives within 30 days, arrives to us within 30 days of the of work beginning, then it is not retroactive. This arrived here September 12th, and work obviously started in July.
And what's the document you're referencing there?
This is the procurement ordinance.
Procurement ordinance.
So
Got
it
the
is a
good book
violation
out.
of the procurement ordinance.
Now, I'll be prepared to embarrass myself here again. Was that referred to in the green sheets that we got, that this is not retroactive because it conforms to this section of the?
No, it is.
No, it is retroactive. It is retroactive because I don't know. Yeah.
Form. It's more than 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it is more than 30 days.
More than 30 days. Yeah, I didn't directly refer to the 30
But
days.
that would be another good touch point. And if we have those 30 days, let's use them, for goodness sake. Because, there will be time where you're like, oh, crap, I need a lawyer.
And to that point, if you reached out to the commission chair, I think even, to give us a heads up, or come, like a lot of other leaders will, and committees, they'll come before
it's
such
just,
other matters.
I don't want to have this discussion anymore, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And it looks like we have the mechanism not to have it, so let's use it.
Okay.
I'll move its approval, Madam Chair.
It has been moved. Do you have a support? Item has been moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Let the record reflect Commissioner Basham is a nay vote.
Continuously.
Okay,
you.
item passes. Yeah, so in the future, just, if you know something's going to be behind, get to us as soon as possible, and we'll help you use the tools that we have at our disposal to, any way we can, to so it's not retroactive, if we can. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
At least I'm consistent, right?
I'm always reminding Madam Chair when 312 comes up,
Yeah.
that Mayor Young stated that the worst mistake that Senator Young ever made was getting 312 arbitration, that he championed in the
back to
state
bite him.
legislature. Then he became mayor and said, wait a minute,
What
this
was I
sucks.
thinking? Yeah,
That's funny. Depends on what seat you sit in.
that's right.
Yep.
Okay, where are we at? Number 5.
Item 5, requesting commission approval of a resolution to extend the delegated settlement authority for an additional year on cases up to $20,000 to Wayne County Corporation Council to settle all claims.
This is just continuing
So
what
moved.
we already do. Thank you. Has been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, you can have a question if you have a question.
I wonder what commission council thinks of this. I don't have any comment on this. I don't have anything other than the resolution. Is this something we return? Where are we going to? How long is this going to be for? A year? Is that what this is?
Joe, would you like to answer?
On December 31st?
Through the chair, this is something we extend once,
Well, I
every.
see that now, but do we do this every year?
Yes.
We do.
Affirmative, yes.
Because there's no supporting paperwork here, so.
We generally haven't had supporting paperwork with this one. This is something that gets extended every single year, by 1 year through December. This will be now through December of 2020, December 31, 2020. All the provisions are exactly the same. They're identical.
Well, I'd like to hear from Commission Council, not right now, but to me, it's if this is just something we routinely do year after year, I don't know, we don't put this in stone somewhere and not, spend the time and energy. But when it came as just a resolution without anything behind it, it leaves me a little bit in the dark. So Does Commission Council have a opinion on extending this?
You do it every year.
It's all right if I ask a question. It's okay. It's what we do in government.
Through the chair, this will be a question for General Counsel Felicia Johnson when she returns. I am not familiar with the
Well, I'd like you to
process at
pose
this
her
time.
that question and see maybe if this is just so absolutely routine that maybe we enshrine this in ordinance or something, or in the procurement or somewhere, rather than this piece by piece by piece. So I do want to hear from my lawyer at some point on this, and before we come back here a year from now, go, oh, let's extend it again.
I have noted that, so
Thank
I
you.
will make sure that you will hear from council.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding item 5? Oh, okay, good. So we're good on that one. Okay, so it's already been passed. Next item,
Well, it hasn't been voted on.
Didn't get the vote. I stopped you before the vote.
Yeah, it didn't get a vote. It
Oh.
just got a move and approval.
okay, I have a motion and support. That's okay. I have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes. We're good. Okay. Now we know we're good. Next item is the closed session.
Move to go into closed session to discuss a proposed
Settlement.
court settlement.
Thank you. Can I get a support?
Support.
I think I need a roll call vote to go in. All in favor? Aye.
No,
don't-
do roll call vote.
Need a roll call vote? Okay. So you need to call everyone's name and have them vote individually.
Commissioner Scott?
She's excused.
Commissioner Clark Coleman? Commissioner Basham?
Yes, and I'm turning my mic off.
Commissioner Killeen?
Yes.
Chair Webb?
Yes.
We're now in closed